The biggest coal sale in the U.S. in over a decade just went for less than a penny per ton. Yes, you heard that right. Less than 1/10 of a cent for a resource that once powered entire cities. On a brisk Monday in southeastern Montana, the Navajo Transitional Energy Company, or NTEC, placed a bid of $186,000 to lease 167 million tons of coal on federal lands. To put that in perspective, the last major government lease in this region sold for over $1 per ton, more than 1,000 times higher. It was a quiet sale, held at the local Bureau of Land Management office in Billings, Montana, with just 2 company representatives in attendance. No other bids were made. The astonishingly low price underscores the dramatic decline in coal's value, even as political leaders push for more mining and burning of the heavily polluting fuel. Some experts call it a sign of a struggling industry, one that's facing shrinking demand and an uncertain future. But as we'll see, the story isn't just about numbers, it's about a clash between economics, politics, and the future of energy in America. The Spring Creek lease isn't just any plot of land. It sits in the Powder River Basin, the most productive coal field in the nation. Yet even in this prime location, the demand for coal is dwindling. 5 power plants that rely on coal from Spring Creek are scheduled to retire within the next decade, leaving questions about who will actually use this coal. Back in the last major sale, a Peabody Energy subsidiary paid $793 million for 721 million tons of coal in Wyoming. Compare that to NTC's $186,000 for 167 million tons, it's a staggering drop. And it's not just numbers on a page, this reflects a massive shift in energy consumption. Natural gas, wind, and solar power have steadily replaced coal in American energy grids, and utilities are moving away from fossil fuels faster than ever. Despite this, political pressure is pushing to open new leases. Republicans have been working to reverse earlier bans on coal sales, arguing that expanding mining could help energy independence. But even with government support, economists are skeptical that these new leases will see much actual mining. The low bid from NTEC, just 1/10 of a penny per ton, shocked industry watchers. On the surface, it seems almost symbolic, but there's strategy behind it. NTEC pointed to government studies predicting a steep decline in coal demand over the next 2 decades. Fewer utilities mean less need for coal, which drives the market value down. By bidding low, NTEC is essentially acknowledging that these coal tracts might never generate huge profits, yet they still secure rights to potentially valuable resources for the long term. It's a calculated gamble. The company also ships coal overseas, mainly to Asia, which offers a chance to offset declining domestic demand. But even here, challenges remain. Ports are limited and infrastructure bottlenecks have previously blocked industry efforts to increase exports. So while exporting seems like a lifeline, it's far from a guaranteed solution. The bigger picture? Even with political pressure to expand coal mining, the reality of the energy market today makes it unlikely that new plants will be built. Coal's heyday is clearly behind us, and these leases may exist more on paper than in real-world mining operations. Politics plays a huge role in this story. Under the Biden administration, sales in the Powder River Basin were halted because coal contributes heavily to climate change. But the Trump-era push to revive coal changed the game, reopening federal lands to mining. The lease sale in Montana is a direct example of this policy shift, even happening amid a partial government shutdown. It highlights how energy policy can swing dramatically with each administration, creating uncertainty for companies and investors alike. Yet, the political momentum may not translate to real-world coal demand. Many utilities have already retired coal plants in favor of cheaper, cleaner energy sources like natural gas, wind, and solar. The promise of reviving coal clashes with market realities, showing that political will alone isn't enough to reverse decades of industry decline. And while these leases make headlines, economists caution that having rights to mine coal doesn't mean it will happen. For now, these sales are more about controlling assets and hedging bets than meeting growing energy needs. To put this Montana lease into perspective, consider the last big government coal sale in the region. Back then, a Peabody Energy subsidiary paid $793 million for 721 million tons of coal, about 1.10 per ton. Fast forward to today, and the Navajo tribe-owned NTEC bid a mere $186,000 for 167 million tons, roughly 1/10 of a penny per ton. The contrast is staggering, highlighting just how much coal's market value has collapsed in recent years. This dramatic drop isn't just numbers on a page. It reflects the broader decline of the U.S. coal industry. Domestic demand is shrinking as utilities shutter coal plants, and even attempts to export coal overseas face logistical challenges like limited port capacity. What was once a lucrative commodity is now struggling to find buyers. It's a stark reminder that while coal may have fueled America's industrial rise, its future is uncertain. Companies are buying leases at rock-bottom prices, not because coal is booming, but because they hope to hedge for a niche market or potential overseas demand. Yet, as experts warn, much of this coal may never actually be mined. Even with this historic lease sale, the real-world impact might be limited. Many coal plants across the country have already retired, replaced by cheaper and cleaner alternatives like natural gas, wind, and solar. Experts like James Stock, a former member of the White House Council on Economic Advisors, point out that new coal leases don't automatically mean more mining or new power plants. In fact, much of the coal under these leases could remain untouched for decades. Some of the coal from Spring Creek does get shipped overseas, mostly to Asia. Expanding exports could help offset the decline in U.S. demand, but past attempts have hit a major roadblock. Port capacity. Without enough infrastructure to transport and ship coal efficiently, increasing exports is easier said than done. This scenario highlights a striking reality. Coal's era as a dominant energy source in the U.S. is fading. Even as political leaders push for more mining and burning, economic and logistical factors make a large-scale revival unlikely. For companies like NTEC, bidding on coal leases at historically low prices might be a gamble, one that depends on uncertain future demand rather than guaranteed profits. The political angle adds another layer to this story. The Trump administration has pushed hard to expand coal mining, declaring an energy emergency and rolling back some of the environmental restrictions put in place by the Biden administration. Selling these coal leases is part of that push, signaling a desire to keep the coal industry alive, even as the market tells a different story. But the tension between politics and economics is clear. Coal's declining demand, retired power plants, and logistical bottlenecks make it unlikely that these new leases will lead to a coal boom. In many ways, these sales are symbolic, a statement about energy policy rather than a guaranteed source of future energy. Meanwhile, companies like NTEC are caught in the middle, navigating the challenge of operating in an industry with shrinking domestic demand, but potential overseas opportunities. Their low bid reflects a realistic understanding of coal's diminished value, even in one of the nation's most productive coal basins. The sale raises bigger questions about the future of fossil fuels in the U.S. Can political decisions really reverse market trends? Or are we witnessing the final chapters of coal's dominance in American energy? So, what does this all mean for coal's future? While the sale of these leases makes headlines, the reality is more complex. Market forces are shifting, utilities are moving toward natural gas and renewables, and coal's value continues to plummet. Even with political support, the likelihood of a major coal resurgence in the U.S. seems slim. Yet, there's a twist. Overseas demand could keep some mines running and provide a lifeline for companies like NTC. But logistical challenges, limited port capacity, and global competition mean that exporting coal is no easy fix. In the end, this historic lease sale highlights a fundamental tension between politics, economics, and the evolving energy landscape. The story leaves us with a question. Can policy alone revive an industry facing declining demand? Or is coal's era in America truly coming to an end? For investors, policymakers, and communities tied to coal, the answers will shape the next decade.